Hello, and thank you for joining us to discuss mental health, college transfer students, and Project College Success. My name is Christine Groah. I'm a white female with blonde hair, and I'm joined by my colleague, Jan Shea.
Hello, I'm Jan Shea. I'm the project coordinator, and I am also a white female with brown hair, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
In today's session, we will review the prevalence of mental health issues among college students, discuss the supports that are needed for college transfer students with mental health challenges, and share themes that we identified based on discussions during student focus groups. This study was funded by ECMC Foundation through their College Success Program. We are very grateful to ECMC Foundation for their support. This is an exploratory study that is using focus groups, project staff expertise in conducting disability research and survey research on the mental health concerns of students transferring from 2 to 4 year institutions of higher education. Our goal is to develop a research protocol and survey that ECMC can distribute to other states and institutions. The primary aim of the study is to learn about practices that will reduce mental health barriers to completing 2 and 4 year degrees among students who are first generation underserved or from low income backgrounds. The study is important because mental health challenges such as anxiety and depression could impact performance in college, educational decisions, and persistence. In a study by Eisenberg in 2016, half of the more than 4,000 community college students surveyed experienced a current or recent mental health condition. A recent study by Barnes & Noble College called College 2030, Transforming the Student Experience, investigated student needs through the year 2030. Not surprisingly, mental health is on the list of needs that they identify in this report. Mental health was already a concern prior to COVID, but student well-being declined further during the pandemic. This report also focuses on fostering diversity, equity, and inclusion. Future DEI initiatives should address the needs of underserved groups, such as underrepresented, low-income, and first-generation students. Recent research on transfer student mental health, however, is very limited. Although research on college student mental health has increased over the past few years, recent research on transfer student mental health is very limited. An article published in 2015 reported results of a survey conducted with undergraduate students between the ages of 18 and 24 attending a university in Ohio. In this study, students identified their top 3 concerns as academic performance, feeling pressure to succeed, and being concerned about plans after graduation. Researchers found that the students who were the most stressed, anxious, and depressed were transfers, upperclassmen, and those living off campus. Another study by Mayer and Daltrey in 2016 found that transfer students had significantly higher scores on several mental health factors as compared to non-transfer students. And they were less involved in athletics and campus organization, but engaged in more work hours per week. In our study, we are focusing on the concerns of Virginia community college transfer students and what they need in terms of mental health supports to make a smooth and successful transfer. We are also looking at the facilitators and barriers to transferring from a 2-year community college to a 4-year college or university in Virginia, as identified by transfer students with mental health concerns. The third research question focuses on the services or supports that transfer students find most helpful after transferring to a 4-year setting, and which services and support students believe will contribute to retention and completion of their degree. The first phase of our study involved conducting focus groups with community college students in Virginia. 2019 to 2020 demographic data from the Virginia Community College System indicated that nearly 30,000 students in the system were first-generation students, or 18% of their population. Almost 97,000 were minority students, or 44% of their population. 2021 to 2022 data reported by BCCS indicated there were nearly 87,000 full-time community college students in their system. Of that number, 58% are in transfer programs and planning to pursue a bachelor's degree. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jan, who will share information about the focus groups that we conducted with Virginia Community College students.
Thank you, Christine. As you heard, Christine kind of shared some of the research that's out there and our research questions related to Project College Success. Our research questions were developed under the guidance of research or the need for more research, and our progress shifted from research to now arranging our focus groups with college students. We had just begun recruiting for college students to participate in the focus groups in March of 2020. Across the nation, virtual options became the norm, so we adjusted our focus to also give our focus groups a virtual options. I'd like to note that in some ways, this positively contributed to the participation of participants who previously had experienced barriers in joining focus groups. In total, we held 5 focus groups across Virginia, and each focus group consisted of 5 questions being asked with a 6 open-ended question available. I'm going to go over the questions on the next slide, but before I move along, I'd like to note that participants varied demographically and in which college they were attending. What was really noteworthy about these focus groups was the honesty and the vulnerability that the students shared. While we only asked a small number of questions, the dialogue between the participants conveyed their passion behind the topic of mental health and their experiences within mental health challenges on college campuses. Each focus group was hosted online with 2 staff present. One staff served as a facilitator, and their responses were scribed, and they described the responses. Here are the 6 questions that were asked. To avoid reading each question in their entirety, the questions centered around asking the college students to speak to their current demands and challenges in their life, resources accessed, recommendations for improvement, and supports and related to transferring. The final question was an open-ended question that allowed participants to share. For transparency with the participants in this virtual setting, the scribe shared her screen to make sure the answers were captured accurately. This also allowed the facilitator or the scribe to ask clarifying questions as needed. From the focus groups, project staff reviewed the answers and found 4 themes emerging from the responses. These 4 themes centered around academic advising, mental health awareness, mental health stigma, and community engagement. I mentioned before the passion and honesty that the college students shared during their focus groups, but in reviewing their responses, it solidified the need for our research. From these 4 themes, participants went into more detail about the challenges, barriers, and positive experiences. For instance, under academic advising, some students shared very positive experience with supportive and informative advisors or staff at their campuses. However, it was agreed that there was also an area on the college campuses that was understaffed, and it experienced a lot of communication delays when asking questions for support. Students spoke to their hopes or concerns about having these similar experiences at their new school, be that a positive experience with a staff member or a negative experience related to academic advising. Mental health awareness also emerged and was echoed across the focus groups, in that professors and college staff did not demonstrate an understanding of the college's Disability Support Services Office, the MOAs between professors and students, and the students' accommodations needs. There were instances where a college professor outed a student for having an accommodation need, and several of the students made comments related to the need for awareness related to mental health and the stigmas perceived on their college campuses. Finally, that theme of community engagement surfaced. Students shared how they would like to see more mental health peer supports or campus-wide engagement opportunities. One focus group participant shared how the COVID-19 pandemic positively impacted her community college experience in that they used technology to increase her opportunities for connection. Prior to the pandemic, she had not felt connected to the campus due to family and work-life obligations. But due to the increased technology and the virtual options that were being given, she saw a positive change happening around her college campus experience and have been able to allow her to be more connected. As I mentioned before, one project staff in the meeting acted as described in the focus groups. So as we wrap up sharing about the focus groups, I wanted to share some of their lived experiences and some of their voices and the suggestions that the students gave. One student talked about their biggest thing for them was anxiety. I have constant anxiety. I feel like I'm going to miss something, and there's a lot of procrastination. I have a lot going on, and it's hard for me to keep focus on what is most important thing for me to do. Another student shared, some professors and staff members are not completely aware of DSS and the disability awareness. This has been a major challenge in attaining academic success. A third student kind of summarized and wrapped up that need to make things more accessible and readily available. Make not just when you go to class, but the campus environment, make it more welcoming. You really have to search for it. So make it easier to navigate, more visible on campus. This was the follow-up question where they could kind of speak openly about what was some resources or some needs that they saw across the campuses. Sarah Brown states in her book, Overwhelmed, that prioritizing students' mental health isn't just the right thing to do, it's an institutional imperative. She goes on to talk about the legal consequences and the reputational hits a college can experience if they do not find ways to support student mental health. For transfer students, this was especially noteworthy in her book. But aside from the implications, student mental health problems can result in students to drop out. And so there needs to be more resources preserving opportunities for students, for the students, but also as tuition revenue for the colleges. Brown points out and argues in her book that providing that support isn't coddling, as some critics would claim. It's creating an environment where a diverse population of students, many of whom have already struggled just to get into the door of college, can succeed academically and otherwise. And as Christine and I kind of wrap up our time together with you today, we wanted to give a brief introduction of the survey instrument. The survey, developed by project staff with the input from the focus groups, it was modified after we piloted the study with some of our stakeholders and college students. There are two sections to the survey, and in the first section of the survey was designed to capture demographic information as well as questions to speak to the current demands, concerns, and access to the Disability Support Service office. In this next slide, we wanted to share two sample questions from section 1. The choices for the first questions related to the student's concern were chosen based on the focus group feedback. They were also guided by our research literature. The second question allowed students to share how those concerns were handled or not handled. While we are still collecting surveys, the question example, what resources did you access to reduce your mental health concerns, was listed with several options. The top four choices that have been responded to so far related to academic advisors, faculty members or instructors, special interest groups such as sports or hobbies, and wellness-focused activities. To further that feedback from the focus group, we created an open-ended question that would allow students to expand on what other virtual support options were out there. This also aligns with what we were seeing in the research as well as what the focus group's participants talked about. For example, in one focus group, they talked about being able to find and be around like-minded individuals such as veterans. In conclusion, survey distribution is underway and findings will be disseminated nationally in early 2023. VCU will provide overall and individual survey results to participating schools, which will be contingent upon enough data received from each individual campus. Full reports will be available with detailed statistical procedures. At this time, we have ample responses to conduct a measure of internal consistency for reliability, and we had an expert and student review for validity when developing the survey items. We will have the survey open until around December 1st of this year, and then we will close it and start the data analysis and report writing. Below, you will find all of the contact information for the project team. The PI for Project College Success is Liz Getzel, and she can be reached at lgetzel@vcu.edu. Christine, myself, and our research director can also be reached by email. We would love to answer any questions you may have about this project and want to extend an extra thank you to the ECMC Foundation for this research opportunity. We are very thankful for their support and their continued support moving forward. Have a good day.